Hey lads, give me a hand here, will you? This boy is my servant. Can you get him into the grave for me? Careful, he's badly shattered. Thanks. We'll do the service when there's a lull. Don't bother staying to fill him in. I can do that. No, please, don't wait. I can do it. It'll only upset you. What's the use? But thanks. Poor old Roy. I thought I'd saved your life when I sent you on that job. I did really. It was a dead cert we'd all be killed if we stayed over there. That's why I sent you with the walking wounded. It was your best chance. It was. Apparently everyone else survived. You were the only one who got killed. I bet you warned them. I bet you took it yourself. That would be just like you. You looked as though you were in some sort of praying position when we found you. At least now I can bury the body. It might be unburied by the morning, all this shelling going on. This cemetery is a God-forsaken place, but it's the only place. I can give you a Christian burial, Roy. Your mother would want that. She'll want to know where her son's laid. All mothers want to know that. It's the first question. I don't know why, but it always is. I mean, do they think the body is going to break through the soil on top of the grave and rise again like the temple of the Spirit and pass on? It doesn't make any difference in the resurrection where the body is. Maybe it's just some sort of hollow longing, an echo to Mary at the open tomb. They've taken my Lord's body, and I don't know where it is now laid. That first Easter morning should have hushed all those concerns, turns everyone's sorrow into joy, but it hasn't. Not for many who follow Christ. Men and women still seek the living amongst the dead. I don't know why. They always want to know where the dead are buried. Is it religion? Or is it sentiment? But that's not my business. Sentiment or religion, the desire is there. It's my job to satisfy it. A padre out here has to be an undertaker. An amateur, very amateur undertaker. That's the worst of it. We cannot hope to bury all these bodies. Many a mother's aching heart goes uncomforted because we cannot tell her where her son is buried. No one can. Some are not buried because there's not much left, a few scraps of flesh or clothing. Others are buried and then their graves are blown to bits in the shelling. But when a Christian burial can happen, it must happen. Even for pity's sake. For us so much as it pleases Almighty God. Pleased Almighty God. I cannot believe that God is pleased with any of this, but I conducted a communion service a few days ago. The place was packed, full of officers and men. There was one chap at the back. I'd noticed him before. He was listening intently, particularly when I said those words, "Preserve thy body and soul, O Lord, into everlasting life." And a couple of days later, I buried that body, terribly mutilated in a shell hole. I believe in Almighty God, God the Father, and yet my pal was blown to bits by a trench mortar. There are no words, my friends, foul or filthy enough to describe war, and yet this indescribable, filthy thing is the most commonest thing in history. I've always had an interest in military history. I think interest is the right word. I had that interest because I knew nothing. I knew nothing. And I brought those facts and interesting figures about military history when I first came here. Battles to me then were like movements on the chessboard of the world. I was innocent, idiotically, fatuously innocent, like a lot of young men of my generation were. And I brought those facts to my first battle, those dry facts, and they came to life. They roared and they thundered, and they dripped with blood. They laughed at me, they swore, they blasphemed and shouted at me. They cried for mercy like a child. They rose up spectre-like in front of me and beckoned me forward with their blood-stained fingers, and they laughed like old friends in my face at my silly little petty religion. I remember once running over some open fields, shells, bombs exploding right at the side of me. And I was madly trying to remember all sorts of facts and figures about battles and dates. And as each bomb landed and exploded, it seemed to yell in my face a foul oath. Now don't you see, you miserable little parson? This is your war. This is your battle. Waste of muscle, waste of brain, waste of patience, waste of pain, waste of beauty, waste of health, waste of manhood, waste of wealth, waste of blood, waste of tears, waste of youth's most precious years, waste of ways the saints have trod, waste of glory, waste of God. War.